Agenda, City Council joint meeting with COSADC. This is the 19th of January, 2021, and we are calling this meeting to order at 8:30 a.m. We have a quorum with our City Council members all present. And Guy, would you verify that you have a quorum with COSADC?
Yes, ma'am. We do have a quorum with COSADC. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, we will open up public comment. At this point, we would ask that if it is not an item that is pertaining to the special agenda, that you would wait and do your public comment relative to the regular City Council meeting. With that, I will go ahead and read the rules. Public comment, issues or concerns not on the regular agenda may be raised by the public at this time. Citizens should speak from the podium, address all comments to the dais, begin by stating their name and address or single-member district, and limit remarks to less than 3 minutes. With that, we will go into our joint meeting agenda. Item A is discussion and possible action on business prospect and economic development regarding San Angelo Regional Airport, Mathis Field. And today we have Guy Andrews here with a presentation. Thank you, Guy.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Guy Andrews, Director of Economic Development with the City of San Angelo Development Corporation. You've heard this often before: trains, planes, and automobiles. That's been our mantra for the past several years. And before we get into today's action and that sort of thing, I just wanted to briefly review some things that have happened in regard to trains. We have a rail port that's under development, and if you've been out there lately, you see the progress that's being made. Just to orient you, this map actually is not oriented towards that. At the top of the picture would be FM 2105. At the bottom, framing our rail port is 50th Street. This is a picture made. We had a little opening. There's a sign out at the site now at the rail port, so we're making great progress. This photo is of our owner-operator, Shad Wisner, that is out on the little skid there doing some clearing out at the rail port. But it's going great guns. We have lots of prospects for that park that we're working on. So just wanted to review that with you. This port is on the South Orient Rail Line that runs from Coleman Junction, or Coleman, Texas. It's actually San Angelo Junction, all the way down to the port of Presidio. So we're strategically placed on that. The South Orient Railroad is actually operated by Texas Pacifico, which is headquartered here in San Angelo, so it gives us lots of opportunity for development. And then once you get down to Presidio, you then have access to the rail lines in Mexico. So we're very excited about that particular project. At automobiles, this past year, we completed a I-27 study. Our segment leader for that was Mayor Gunter. Thank you very much. This is the most progress that's been made to ports to planes in 25-year history. TxDOT did a study with all of the members along that corridor, so that's going well as well. It is part of the Plains to Plains corridor that runs all the way from Laredo, Texas to Alberta, Canada. Actually, it goes on down to the port of Mazatlan, so we have access to that. We've also been working on the I-14 Gulf Coast Strategic Highway that one day in the future will intersect with I-27 in San Angelo, which will be a major economic boom in the future. So now let's talk about planes. Well, San Angelo is blessed to have American Eagle Air Service to DFW International. They're a very important business partner. However, many businesses and individuals have requested direct air service to Houston International Airport. San Angelo has made efforts for a number of years to secure direct flights to George Bush Intercontinental Airport, Houston. And while San Angelo has been on a couple of airline short lists for potential air service, we've been unable to reach the top of the list for a variety of reasons. Well, now that has changed, and we have an opportunity for direct air service to Houston. Under the leadership of Mayor Gunter, a group that included her, our city manager, Mr. Daniel Valenzuela, airport manager Jeremy Valgaardson, and myself made a trip to St. George, Utah to meet with SkyWest Airlines. Jeremy had already had relationships established with them as a result of previous experience he had in Cedar City, Utah, and that really enhanced our ability to meet with their upper-level management. After a very amiable meeting, SkyWest confirmed that they're very interested in providing air service to San Angelo Regional Airport to George Bush International. SkyWest stated that it would require an agreement with the same basic terms as previous agreements with other Texas airports. SkyWest Airlines expressed that they would consider establishing corporate headquarters facilities from which to operate daily scheduled air service from San Angelo Regional Airport to George Bush Intercontinental Airport. And so here are the terms of the agreement. The agreement would be for approximately a 2-year period, with the actual start date to be dependent on the time it takes to establish a new station in San Angelo. We anticipate that to be sometime in April. SkyWest and the City of San Angelo Development Corporation would negotiate a revenue guarantee agreement not to exceed $1 million for SkyWest to operate a regional carrier for daily scheduled service between San Angelo Regional Airport and International Airport, effective using 50-passenger regional jets. Now, that $1 million is actually $1 million that's earmarked, and SkyWest would be reimbursed by the City of San Angelo Development Corporation for flights in the previous quarter that did not meet the passenger revenue requirements to cover current fuel and non-fuel hourly costs to operate the aircraft on that route. And these incentives are used to offset the airline's startup costs for entering into the new market. The City of San Angelo Development Corporation, via an amendment to the COSADC San Angelo Chamber of Commerce Professional Services Agreement, will provide $200,000 in advertising and marketing direct support during the course of the agreement. And then the last term is that the City of San Angelo would waive rental fees and landing fees at the San Angelo Regional Airport during the agreement period. And again, these are used to offset the airline's startup costs of entering into a new market. We do plan to apply for a Small Community Air Services Development Program grant. At the end of this month, we're collecting support letters for that now. If we were to receive that grant, the monies would be used to reimburse COSADC. And so I would be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Guy, if you would explain the $1 million, because the reality is it's there if, in fact, they don't meet their passenger load. So it is to help take care of any red ink, should there be any. But if, in fact, San Angelo supports the new airline service to Houston and they are profitable, then it would cost us, none of that $1 million would be tapped into. So it is not a $1 million gift to the airline, but it is a cost of operation should we not meet the passenger load.
Absolutely. That's exactly how that works. It might be that we never spend any money if we really support this and keep those loads up for the revenue, but the guarantee is out there to ensure that they help, or that their revenue exceeds the cost of that startup service here at San Angelo.
And I will say this on many occasions concerning this. San Angelo citizens have asked over and over again that we find a way to get an airline here to provide service to Houston. We have accomplished that, and now it's really in the citizens' hands to support the airline. If you want it, if you believe in it, if it's something that you strongly supported and felt we needed to have here, well, we have it. But we need to make sure that we support it. I believe strongly that the citizens want options, not only in destination, but in pricing. And the more competitive a market is, usually the better the pricing. So we're giving citizens an opportunity to choose a destination, Dallas versus Houston, and also hopefully some pricing options. We also believe strongly in this because we believe that Mexico will become an important partner in terms of many people wanting to go to Houston to fly to Mexico, and it will be a more direct route than the Dallas route. So I believe that this opportunity is a win-win for the city of San Angelo and the citizens.
Thank you, Mayor. Any other questions that you might have?
Billy?
Billy?
Any idea of the timing at this point, Guy?
It will be sometime in April. We're still working out some of the details in it, but I would expect sometime in mid to late April.
Most likely more towards the end, not the beginning.
Right.
But they will have to start selling tickets, so it will be announced pretty shortly when that service will start, because they've got to sell tickets and they've got to have a start date. So
there's lots of coordination that takes place between United Express. They're flying under that name, United Express, and so coordination with international airport gate assignments, that sort of thing, that go into to this agreement and the timing.
Well, I have to say, Mayor and Guy and everybody, that I'm very excited about this. This is several comments I've gotten about how necessary a second airline is to San Angelo. But my other question is, and this may be a Jeremy question, will we have to add TSA staff with the new airlines or no?
Is Jeremy here today?
he is here.
Is marching forward.
He's coming forward, but they work out the flight schedules, so there's not conflict on flight schedules between American Airlines and United. So they work around all of that scheduling to ensure that the staffing issues meet with the flight schedules.
Good morning, Jeremy Valgartson, the San Angelo Airport Director. TSA is prepared. They're always prepared because we have chargers throughout the week as well. So TSA is really open as long as the airport's open. So they have already staffed up. They're prepared for it.
I think, Lucy, you had a question?
Yes. Guy, what amount is the grant that you'll be applying for it?
Well, we would apply for the full amount that we're guaranteeing this grant, so that's in the works right now.
Do you know what amount that is?
Will it be $1 million?
$1 million
$1
too.
Okay,
is-
great.
The
is what
other
we're
part
looking
that
for.
we need to explain is that we have applied for that grant in the past, but one of the things that prevented us from being able to use it is that the people who, when applying for it, you want to have an airline that will put in a letter of support for you in that grant application, and SkyWest has agreed to put a letter of support for San Angelo in the grant application. We have never had before, when we applied for the grant or got the grant, an airline that said we're interested. So we've gotten the grant before, but no airline took a bite and said, hey, we want to be a part of this. This is the first time we've had an airline who supports San Angelo, supports the additional route, and believes strongly that this route will be good for them and will be good for the city of San Angelo.
Going back to Billy on your question in regard to TSA, we're hoping to have these scheduled so that we don't have both airlines leaving at the same time. So that's what we've requested in scheduling and in regard to that. So
I just wanted to say that I wanted to thank the mayor and Daniel and Jeremy and you guys for hard work and staying focused. I know that it's been a long time, 12 years since we've had a second airline. And I'm so grateful for you guys that y'all stayed focused on this and kept on till we got that. So thank you so much, and I'm sure the citizens of San Angelo thank you also.
Thank you. The other thing I want to mention in regard to the COSADC grant support letters, there still are some emails out there asking for support. And so don't think because of this action today that we don't need that support letter. I've gotten 20 already. All of our legislators have signed on, and a lot of the large employers and that sort of thing. So, other
I just want to
questions?
make one last comment on the planes, trains, and automobiles, because from the beginning, as mayor, I have strongly supported and created the idea of planes, trains, and automobiles. And the reason behind that is the following. In order to be successful in economic development, you must have transportation options. And so we needed to make sure that we evaluated each of those areas, planes, trains, and automobiles, to make sure that we had a strategy and that we were focused on providing those alternatives so that our economic development team had things that they could sell to potential new businesses and potential new customers. And by accomplishing this, and by accomplishing the railport, and by getting down the road on the interstate conversation, we are providing the tools that the economic development people need to continue to put San Angelo in the skylight, in light of all companies who have not considered San Angelo before because we didn't have alternatives. So it's a big step forward.
Mayor.
Yes, sir, Tommy?
Guy, just by chance, do you have any idea how many departing flights and returning flights at this point? Is that a fair question yet, or do we
Yeah,
not?
initially there would be 2 departing flights, a morning flight to Houston, one in late afternoon, and so that you would be able to make a day trip to Houston. And that's one of the drawbacks we have currently, is it's almost impossible to make a day trip with the connecting flights and that sort of thing. So this will greatly enhance that. But we begin with 2, and we hope we get so much support that they decide to add
More
additional
flights, yeah.
flights.
Good, thank you, Guy.
Do I have other questions or comments from city council members? Harry?
Just a real quick comment. It's been almost 20 years since we had a second airline in here, and this is probably one of the most questions I get from citizens on a regular basis. So I want to say thank you to the group that went to Utah, that did this work on this, and I appreciate, and I think the citizens will appreciate that we've got this opportunity here, and we'll go forward with this, and we'll be successful. And it was one of those things that just took a long time to get here. Thanks.
I used the wrong word a while ago. I said skylight, I meant spotlight.
Okay.
We want a spotlight on San Angelo. Couldn't come up with it at the moment. Pressure's on.
Lane has.
Okay.
I've got it.
Yes, Lane, please.
With what Harry just said, we can't stress more of how important, as we put it into the citizens' hands to help support this. When we formed our committee a few years ago, when we started seeing the Fly Local campaign on the TV ads, to help support this, it was kind of a catch-22. The pricings were not what the citizens wanted to have. So that's when we started seeing the drive over to Austin, Texas to fly out, drive over to Abilene, drive directly to Dallas. But that also hurt us with American and hurt us with wanting to draw in another airline. So now we have this opportunity. So we cannot stress more of how important it is to help support both of these airlines and the new one to make sure that we keep the grasp on with this and not let them leave our town.
Yes,
Over the
good
past
point.
10 years, we have had a 50% leakage, and what that means is that in the past, people have chosen, over the past 10 years, other locations to fly out of. So when you think about that, a 50% leakage, that's huge.
Huge.
And if we can keep that 50% leakage back in San Angelo, then it's a win-win, and we won't have to be concerned about passenger load. So let's support it, San Angelo.
That was one of the
Eric,
catches that we had when we first tried to draw it in a few years ago, was they didn't see the numbers through American. And with them not seeing the numbers through American, any other airline did not want to risk it to come here. So now we have this, and we're showing the numbers. We're being more competitive. So fly local.
Erica Lara from the COSADC board would like to make a comment.
Sure, Erica, you're on.
Hi there. I just had a real quick question. I know that, Guy, you had addressed this in a meeting that we had, I think, last month. But what about it now, especially with COVID and everything, is making it advantageous for this particular airline to finally come into San Angelo?
I can talk to that a minute, Erica. One of the
Okay.
things that people are finding is that the business load factor has diminished greatly on major airlines. What the airlines are seeing is that people are wanting shorter routes, smaller trips, tourism trips, and there have been less business trips. So the big airlines, the big planes are, and the big markets are seeing less business travel. SkyWest saw us as a great opportunity for a tourism market and for a business market in both ways. And so it, in their minds, was an opportunity in the industry right now to start supporting shorter routes. And that is an industry trend right now, shorter routes.
Mayor.
Thank you.
If there are no further questions, in order to affect this, we need to go through some approval of a resolution by the COSADC board. I do not see our president online today. Oh. Is Bill or Todd here?
Bill's here.
Todd, our president, Todd Coles is not here. So Bill Dindal, our first vice president, will come
Bill,
in and
come on
handle
forward.
this resolution. Bill.
Mayor and council, it's a pleasure to be here this morning. And our part in this process is a resolution from the COSADC. It's item 4B on your agenda, and it is to consider approving a resolution of the City of San Angelo Development Corporation Board of Directors authorizing the use of sales and use tax funds in an amount not to exceed $1.2 million to provide an economic development incentive to SkyWest Airlines Incorporated, approving air services and a revenue guarantee agreement by SkyWest Airlines, and approving an amendment to the professional services performance agreement with the San Angelo Chamber of Commerce, directing advertising support to SkyWest Airlines per the agreement. And Mr. Andrews, you've already made that presentation, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. Good morning, COSADC board. Most of you are via Zoom this morning. The resolution is before us. Any questions, any additional questions from our board? Questions? Yeah, any public comment from that? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor on the COSADC board, say, I'm sorry? Okay, I'm sorry. Got a motion from our Zoom committee there?
I'll make a motion. This is
Thank you,
Director
Mr. Roscoe. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Puelo. There's a second. Now that we have a motion on board, we can vote on that. All in favor of this motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. There is none. Our motion passes. Thank you.
I also want to thank the COSADC board and the leadership of COSADC for working with us and working with SkyWest to get this airline approved. Your support, your comments have been tremendous in terms of helping us get this done. Your leadership is very valuable, and I want to thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. There's a positive there's a positive vibe between the COSADC and the council, and we thank you for that. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Next item, we'll turn it back over to City Council for their resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Guy. So item C is for the city council to do just as the COSADC board did. So I would like a motion, if I could, for ratifying the resolution of the City of San Angelo's Development Corporation that allocates sales and use tax funds in an amount not to exceed $1,200,000 to provide economic development incentives and direct advertising support to SkyWest Airlines Incorporated, waiving rental and landing fees and declaring a public purpose. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Lane, thank
Second.
you for that motion, and the second is, I guess, from all other members of City Council, so I think we got 5 seconds on that. Any public comment? Seeing none, we will take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
With none opposed, the resolution motion passes. Thank you very much. We are now going to I am going to ask for a motion for adjournment as we have a small press conference at this point. So may I have that motion for adjournment for the special agenda?
So moved.
So moved by Tom, seconded by Lane. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. We are in
Mayor,
COSADC.
could we get COSADC
He's
to
coming
adjourn?
forward to do so.
Also need to adjourn COSADC. So move a motion for adjournment for COSADC.
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second on that?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Bill.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Our motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned. We will take, let's see, it is 8:57, so we'll take 15 minutes, approximately 15 minutes for a press conference, and then we will be back for the regular agenda at approximately 8:20.